When I was creating the Grow Guide, Nikki was the friend that I sent it to every single time for every iteration. If you've been here since Everything Sheds and GrowCery Garden and you remember the digital cards, well, Nikki was there for that too. So she was really someone who was not only a friend, but also a consumer mindset and telling me like what would work and what wouldn't work. So those of you who tell us that the Grow Guide works, you have Nikki to thank for that. I'm gonna go ahead and bring Nikki on. How are you feeling? I know it's early for you.
I'm fresh on the wake up, but I feel amazing. I'm so excited to be here. I'm so proud of you, and this has definitely helped my productivity. So I'm excited to share, answer any questions, shed any insights.
Yes, I need the tea. So let's start from the beginning. Like, what do you do? Tell the people who don't know you, who are you? Like, give a little intro as much as you want to give. What's your origin story? How did you get here?
Okay. Just a quick snippet. My name is Nikki Ferdinand. I am a Baltimore native. I'm an entrepreneur, so serial entrepreneur. My background is in actually marketing. So Val and I actually met in college in Baltimore, Morgan State University. And straight out of that, I went into corporate America. And from there, I just realized that I wanted to do a lot of different things. I knew that my passion was to explore, to travel, and to be able to just put my business acumen into practice, the things that I learned in school. And so I went into real estate, went into e-commerce, just different ways to be able to create different streams of income to ultimately give me my freedom. That's what I wanted. I wanted freedom to be able to have time to do the things that I wanted that actually I felt mattered to me, and that was a purpose, which was, spending time with family, being able to educate people on being financially free. Travel, that was one of my main passions. And so my husband and I have been able to now have some streams of income that grow so that we're able to have the freedom. We spent 2 years in the van. For those that don't know, we did van life, 2 years on the road, traveling, being able to see how beautiful and just the hidden treasures of this country, and also going abroad, and just really getting to know each other in a more intimate way and having time to focus on things that we really love. So that's the quick synopsis of me and what I do.
So I have a lot of questions, but I'll just start with one. When you are, or when you were coming into this space of saying, okay, I want my freedom, how were you able to actually self-discipline yourself through that freedom? Do you even have self-discipline, or do you have other hacks that
so that was a tough thing when I started being an entrepreneur and I didn't have so to speak, a boss or anything outside of myself to hold me accountable. That was a really tough transition. So what I had to do, I think for me, at first, I went kind of wild. I was like, okay, I don't got to answer to anybody. I can do what I want. I can wake up when I want. I don't have to do anything. And if I don't get to my to-do list, there's no penalty other than me just, not getting what I want done. But then I realized that, especially in your first years of entrepreneurship, you eat what you kill. So if you don't do things, you don't get paid. You don't have anything to fall back on. You don't just get that cushy check that I got from my 9-to-5 every 2 weeks. So what I had to do was start treating it like a job. So I would make my to-do list. I would make sure I would wake up sometimes earlier than I would to go to work to get things done, give myself a break at lunch, and then actually work business hours, give myself a to-do list, and make sure I assign different times, like things that I had to get done that day. And that's how I typically work. Now it's kind of, I've been an entrepreneur for about a decade now. So the way that I work now is that I try to get the hardest things, the things that I need to get done, the most urgent things done earliest in the day. Because then I know if for whatever reason, because if any entrepreneurs are on here, Val, things can kind of take a turn a little bit, and especially when you don't know what problem you might have to solve that day. It might be, 10 o'clock comes and something out the blue, and then that takes the whole rest of your day that you have to kind of get done. So if I know I have to get something done, I will do it first thing in the morning. And that way I know it's at least out the way, so that if anything arises, I've already accomplished that.
Okay, so that's the gym. Do it first thing in the morning. Do you plan your days? Like, do you write it out?
I do.
Or you just flow?
For the most part, I do have a written to-do list that I'll look at the night before. So that'll have my calendar. That'll have any appointments that I need to have, any calls I need to get on. So I have that down. But then a lot of my stuff right now is kind of hands-on. So one of the things I do is Airbnb. So right now we have 3 new properties, and the part that I like about it is decorating. So that's like on my to-do list for this week, that I need to get 3 of them done really by the end of day today. So those are like the things that are on priority. So if it's something I need to sit at my desk or be on my computer for, then I'll look at that, and I'll look at that the night before, and I'll make sure all my calls are on, and I'll set my alarms, because sometimes I'm running, ripping, and I don't even realize that, what time it is. And so I'll set my alarms to go off like 5 minutes before whatever call or Zoom or whatever I need to get on. But if it's things that I actually have to be hands-on for, then I'm just out and doing that throughout the day. I might not have that.
Mm-hmm. All right, my last question before we get into our productivity session. Those of you out there, we are going to work silently for about 20 minutes, but I really wanted to know, Nick, when you, I know like behind the scenes, sometimes you go through experiences financially that might like rock your world, like you just don't expect it. Like I know you talked about like random things happening in the day, but what about those times where you see your finances kind of slip away, or you see that a business venture that you tried just isn't working out? Does that ever impact your productivity and make you not want to keep going? And if that does happen, what are ways that you push yourself to keep going?
I think, of course, I think entrepreneurship is a roller coaster, right? And so I've had times where I've been on the really like up, and then there's times where, of course, you get knocked down and you get rejected. And during those times, you do feel a little bit, deflated, I think, immediately. But what I do is that I know that I have goals, and I know I have purpose, and I know things that I feel like God tells me to get done. And so if I know that that's the case, and I know I'm going to ultimately be successful, it just drives me to keep going. So I think it's one, knowing what my purpose is, knowing what my ultimate goal and objective is, and knowing that one setback isn't going to stop me from getting, to the ultimate goal. It's just I might have to pivot and go another way. Try another strategy.
Pivoting is so important. That's the key. And I think sometimes pivoting, it might sound like pivoting means taking everything away, starting all over, and like burning everything you did down. Is that what pivoting looks like for you?
I built on the foundation. I see what my ultimate end goal is. So I have my finish line of what I know that I need to do or where I need to go. So if it's financial freedom, if it's getting a building, if it's whatever it is, my to-do list might look different in getting that way. So I'll try something, fail, try another thing, get rejected, try another thing. It's going to take a long time. But it's the steps that I pivot to change and see, okay, well, this is the solution, this is the end goal. What are the alternate ways that I can, go to be able to hit this end goal?
I love that. So you don't allow your emotions to deter you from pivoting. I love that. I needed that. Thank you for sharing that so openly and candidly. All right, so we'll talk to Nikki again, guys. Let's do 20 minutes of work time. So we're going to go until 7:05 this morning. I'm going to set a timer. You guys can set a timer too, but here our big timer is ready. I'm going to put this on for 20 minutes. I'm going to be on mute. Nikki's going to be on mute. And while we work, we're going to use our GROW strategies. I'm actually going to be using 016, which is to set 2 goals to hit while I'm working. And my goal right now is just to get my week together. I started my weekly checklist yesterday. I'm going to finish it during this 20 minutes and just kind of breathe and meditate through. Nick, I know you're working on journaling and things that you do in the morning. So those of you in the audience, if you want to put what you're doing in the chat, and then once you hit your goal, put a green check, and we will definitely celebrate you. And feel free to ask me any questions along the way and after the session. All right, guys, happy work time. Let's grow. How was your session? You were flowing.
Oh, yeah, you saw me.
Yeah, we saw you. We saw you.
Yes, it was good. I actually had to go. I pulled up your guide because as soon as I got on, and this is what happens sometimes, is that I saw a text message that almost threw me off that I was about to have to, call and deal with. And I was just like, you know what? This is not the first thing on my task. This is not the most important thing. And so I had to come back to, which one was I was looking at one of your exercises, G10, and it said, how can you incorporate stillness before starting? Because my mind was already like, I gotta tell my employee this, she does this, and I just incorporated stillness. And so I just stopped, I put on some music, some praise and worship. I started praying and I refocused on what I needed to do. And one of my first tasks that I feel like God's been putting on my heart for the last couple weeks is that just like spend time with him, because that is the reason why I have time freedom and money freedom, so I can figure out what I need to do throughout the day and then get some downloads from him. So that's usually been my first task, that is the most important task for me, is to spend 5-10 minutes just really talking with him. And one of those tasks is that one of the things that he told me to be is just a better wife, just the best wife that I can be. And so I spent what you saw me doing, what you thought I was writing the task, I was actually sending a voice note to my husband because I know he's asleep right now and I'm having a slumber party at my sister's. And I just was praying over him, and I was telling him how I appreciated him over this weekend for Mother's Day, all the things that he did, and just pouring positivity over him and speaking life into just our marriage, and him overall as a man is just like a really great man and a leader over our household. So that was my task today. It wasn't my initial task, but it was something I felt like I was able to do. So yeah, so I appreciate your stillness exercise for me to be able to recenter and not get off tangents. And then that could have gone a whole nother way where I just would have started my morning in a bad mood and trying to, reel it back, and then I wouldn't have gotten where I need to go.
Yeah, so stillness is really important for centering yourself during the negative emotions. I feel like you're the type of person who has like one vibe most of the time. And so is stillness something that you always incorporate, or was that just something today that you did?
Yeah, no, I don't know. One vibe that I incorporate, as far as you mean like my temperament, you're saying?
Yeah, like, because I feel like we have to wear many hats and many faces, but you typically don't switch up the mask. I feel like
it
you're
don't feel
always
like that on the inside,
person.
but thank you. Yeah, I mean, I think when I do feel myself getting flustered or something that I see that can like take me in another direction, I like typically what I do is I'll pray, or I'll think about the outcome and I'll pray about the outcome and then just get still and then not let it take my emotions, because I'm a very emotional person. So I'm impulsive, and I think that's the creative side of me. So if I see something that I want to do, I'm very spontaneous and I'll do it. And it's like I'm led by emotions. And so sometimes that can be a great thing when you lead with your heart, you do things with your heart, but then also when you can get distracted very easily from your emotion being on the negative spectrum, or, like you feeling like your mood gets changed because of a quick text or somebody saying something to you or cutting you off in traffic, and now your day is like going in a negative spiral. I stop, I refocus, I pray, or I put on some music, and then I focus on what my task or what I need to be doing at that time.
And something else I know that you do, and this is probably gonna make you laugh, but you don't answer text messages.
Oh yeah.
You don't check your phone. Is that like a part of your business strategy? Is it like, do you have like a planned time when you do go to your phone to get with people? Because as far as I know, people don't even get mad at you about it. Like, we just all know Nikki is changing the world. So like, but what is your strategy behind like not letting your phone distract you? I know you just said you saw this message and it actually made you stop, take a breath, and then you send a voice note. Now you feel better, you can move on with your day. But in your real world, what about that?
Yeah, and I appreciate y'all as my friend. Y'all give me 5 to 7 business days to get back to you. And y'all don't judge me, so I love y'all for that. But you know what? I try to not look at my phone first thing in the morning, but it's funny because my phone is where everything is. Like my Bible app is on there. So I don't look at my text messages, but sometimes a notification will pop up from one of my businesses or something where I accidentally see it. And I still have to keep that on because some of those things are time sensitive. But so if it's time sensitive, I have to act right away, then I will. But I try to really prioritize and not react to every single thing that comes through. So before every text message that came through, I felt like I had to like write it back right away. And then I would like look up 2 hours later and I'm like, oh my gosh, what did I get done? Because I'm on a text message, then something pops up on Instagram, then I'm scrolling for an hour and I don't even realize. So it's like I really try to minimize like my overstimulation from text messages, from calls, from social media, from all those notifications. And I just keep like 2 different apps that have notifications that pop up. And that was one of the things that I saw today. It was something from one of my apps from one of my businesses that I wanted to text my employee about. But I was like, you know what? She got it. And it's not an emergency right now. So let me actually focus on the things I need to focus on. And it will be there once I finish. And now I feel better. I'm in a better mind state. And I'm not going to be wilding when I text her.
Do you rest? Do you take naps during the day? Like, what's your rest like? What's your play like? I know you play because you celebrate every holiday. I know you travel a lot. Like, but what about rest?
I don't nap, actually. I wish I could, but when it's light outside, I actually take a nap. So, but I do take self-care. So I'll run. Probably, I try to run every day, but if not, I'll do some type of workout, a stretch. Do some face yoga because you want to stay young and vibrant, right? But no, I think it's just self-care and being able to take time for myself and never getting too busy. Even if I have 24 hours worth of work that needs to get done, I feel like your health, your mental health, and just taking time for yourself is a priority, because if you're not here, your stuff ain't gonna get done either. So it's not naps as much, but rest is just mental rest for me, to be able to do things, take care of me, talk to who I need to, sometimes taking a break, whatever that looks like, prioritizing my health the way that I need, all of those things.
Yeah, okay. I take naps. I have to take naps. But I think that speaks to who we are as like friends, where we have totally different makeups, and that's why we get along so well. We know what each other needs. But I have seen you fall asleep anywhere.
So they're not playing that, but yeah, y'all call me X for a reason. So I'm sprawl out and baby knock out.
We're like, wait, where did Nikki go? Nikki in the corner sleep. Yes. So
especially with travel, for sure.
Yeah, that takes a lot out of you. Someone actually wanted to know in the chat, how do you decide to leave your job and begin your business? And I know, like, for me, I can answer that. I finally left teaching because of Nikki. When I was in New York, I went back home to live with my elders to help them. And number one, living with them reminded me of the fact that I was still in the hood. Like, it really had not hit me before that, because I've been in Baltimore for so long, teaching and becoming an influencer on social media, and all these things were great. But when I went back home, I was like, wait a minute, I haven't left. Like, I had nowhere else to go but being home with them. And I love being home, but that's not where I want to continue sowing my seeds. And it was really nowhere else financially for me to go. And I was joining Nikki's classes where she was teaching, and she would have a full class size of young people, young adults, older people learning from her. And I was watching how much, not only was she changing their trajectory of their lives, but she was also making enough money to sustain herself in a much more free way than what I was doing, in a stressful way, and making way less money. So I was like, you know what? Nikki has been my role model since we were 23, 24 in becoming an entrepreneur. And I'm definitely going to let Nikki tell y'all how she did it, but I just have to give her her flowers, because seeing her do it in the beginning, I couldn't quit my job, because I was like, Nikki's a mathematician. She's very creative. She can be an entrepreneur. I can't. But when I got back to a place where I felt like I really had no other choice if I wanted to be as free as I want to be, and then seeing Nikki be able to do it for over 10 years, I was like, all right, if Nikki can do it, I can do it. And I'm hoping that everybody in the audience hears that and saying, okay, if Nikki can do it, I can do it. If Valenciá can do it, I can do it. Nikki, tell them how you did it, though.
I think it's so important, and I'm so proud of you, so I'm going to give you your flowers real quick now, because I've seen you flourish so much. You've always been a powerhouse, and you've inspired me, like, living in your purpose, no matter how that looked like. Education, you've always been an educator. You've always been our teacher. So, like, I love seeing you thrive. I love seeing how happy you are. And y'all see how young she is? Like, look how young she looks. That's what it looks like to live in your purpose, to really thrive. Even when things get probably stressful for her, it's because she's living in a purpose, and it keeps her going. You know what I'm saying? And so I love that. And the reason why I think ultimately I decided to transition from a job to entrepreneurship was because I didn't feel like I was living in a purpose. I felt like I was kind of on a wheel of day to day going in, and it wasn't something, it was making really good money, but it wasn't something that I was happy about. I wasn't excited about it and feel like I was making a change. And so I knew it was a matter of time. I didn't know exactly what I wanted to do at that time when I knew I was going to leave my job, but what pushed me was adversity. And sometimes that's what pushes you to get very uncomfortable. My grandmother ended up passing away, and my job they were kind about it, but they didn't want me to take time to really go. They gave me 2 days of paid time off, and I was working 80 plus hour weeks at that point. And I was working weekends, I was working on vacations, and I was like, the fact that they couldn't give me more than 2 days of PTO to plan a funeral for somebody that helped raise me, that kind of let me know that I was just kind of a number to them, and it wasn't, and I mean, it was business, and I understood that, but I was like, this can't be. I'm up here kind of killing myself, stressing myself out, missing out on family, and all the things that I say are important, and not, and giving it to this job that really could care less. And so that was for me. I realized that it wasn't a purpose driven passion or job. And so I had to figure out what that was. And so because of that, because of kind of the hardships that happened in that life or at that point in my life, I decided to just see what else was out there. I was like, I could always go back to a job, but let me see what I can do on my own. And I really prayed about it. I got opportunity that came to me. And then I just really went, because I had no other income coming in, I went full force in an entrepreneurship opportunity. And that was a network marketing company at first. And then I spent into real estate and took that money and to do a whole bunch of other diversifying things. So yeah, practically I would say you want to make sure that you have, I would say, some income so that you're not so stressed. You would have, I would say, 3 months of saved income so that you can actually spend time, make mistakes, because you might not be coming straight out making the money that you want in your entrepreneurship. But you have a desire and have a passion and know that you can solve any problem that comes into your path, as long as you have a clear just vision of where you want to go. You know what I mean? What that looks like for you. It might just be freedom. You might not know how it looks like, but you know that you want to get to freedom, and so you're going to keep problem solving until you get there. And entrepreneurship can be that way for you. So hopefully that answers your question. But I think it's with passion, with your heart, and then practically make sure you have some money to be able to sustain it.
Yep. It was for me like that. Like when my mom passed, they were like, oh, you only get 2 days off. And I was like, excuse me? Like, what? How is that even possible? They were like, well, you could do FMLA. And that's like, now I got to be slick in order to not be at work. Like, nah, I can't. So, but I will definitely tell people who are listening, like, don't jump out of the window because you're aggravated with your system. Make sure you have a foundation before you do that. I do not want people listening to me and Nikki and thinking, all right, let me just jump. No, we're telling you that you can do this, but we're also telling you to make sure that you think ahead and have your financial foundation. And before even your financial foundation, have your executive function where you can actually manage yourself with that type of freedom. Because like Nikki said, at first, she was not managing herself. She was too free. And it was the same for me. I was in here binging Netflix, and that's not cool. I was breathing at the same time, but I had to wake up at some point. And so I just want to make sure we're very, very clear. We are not telling you how to jump out the window. We are telling you that you can do anything, and that if you do decide to jump out of the window, to make sure that you have your parachute on, because you got to grow those wings first. So have that artificial wing through the parachute with your foundation, if that makes sense. Nikki, there's one last question that we can definitely leave off on. Someone wants to know, are there any principles that you live by, that you either made up yourself, or you got it from a self-help book, or someone that you admire in the industry you're in, that you can leave us off with?
So many principles. I'm trying to think what is the biggest one that I govern my life with. I think one thing for entrepreneurship that's important, and this kind of piggybacks on the last question too, but I really believe in really believe in just mentorship. So a principle that I will get is like, one, if I see something that's already been done, I know that it can be done myself. And so you, just like how Val said, you see us, you know, or anybody that's where you want to be, then you just know that it's possible for yourself as well. But a way to get there, and one thing that I've always done, is that I'll find somebody that's where I want to be, and I will learn from them. And it might not be in person, it might be on audiobooks, it might be through a book, it might be through a guide, it might be, but I learned the principles that help them, because that will help me avoid a lot of the pitfalls, right? And so if they've already learned it and told me, look, this is where the mines are in the field, avoid these things, this is how I got here the fastest. That's one of the main principles, is that I don't have to reinvent the wheel. I can look at where other people have already made mistakes and where they triumphed, and then just, you know, add my own swag to it.
I love that. Learn from the people that came before us. That's definitely true. And I think that you definitely helped me with that, because if I call you, you like, no, don't do it like this. That's not going to work. You have a lot of expertise. So I'm grateful that I get to learn from you, because you're learning from others, and it's definitely one of those communities where we all get to take and give. And as one of my OGs says, each one teach one. So thank you so much for that. I love that, Jim.
Thank you so much for having me.
Bye, y'all. Thank you for coming.